Hey, everyone.
Back to Rokkenjima.
Yeah. Before we start this one, I think we should probably just unpack one more bit from that I had about the theory we went over last time about the family possibly just have faking the entire envelope and door incident. I think part of that is more compelling now because, like, what would have happened in that room is then that they probably would have bullied Shannon and Cannon into telling them what was going on or threatened them somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then told Battler, like, hey, here's what's happening with grandfather. And the genius part of how they played this off is that they have now tricked Natsuhi into defending their alibi that makes Battler the what's the word I'm looking for? Successor to Kinzo. Because now and it explains why also at the end of Battler's nonsense deduction, like, they're all just like, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, yeah, okay, I wouldn't put it past grandfather, sure. You know what I mean? Which is just very weird thing for a bunch of people who assume that Kinzo doesn't exist. I guess kind of accept.
I guess the leap I'm curious about is how does this get Natsuhi to acknowledge anything about Battler being the head?
Because now she's in a position where she is clear, like, they've clearly picked up on the fact that Natsuhi will not let them speak to grandfather under any circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And they've clearly put together why. They've already had their suspicions going in. The confrontation's been a lot more direct than usual this time.
Mm-hmm.
And now this puts Natsuhi in a bind where she either has to acknowledge that, oh, Battler, you've got his ring and there was a letter in his hand. Oh, shit. She can either say, oh, he doesn't actually exist, to lose face there, and then deny Battler's chance of succession, or she has to continue on with her farce in insisting that Kinzo was alive, in which case she has to say, oh, shit, now I guess I do have to accept you as the successor. Either way, she's fucked. They've put her in an impossible position. And that's fucking brilliant. And that's probably why they insisted that Cannon and Shannon stay, because they wanted to they probably were low-key threatening them in order to make sure that they got the information they needed here. Anyway, that's my take on it, and I just wanted to fill out a couple more details on it since we last recorded. Anyway, I think it's time we get back on this island. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Erica's not having a good one. What do we got here?
What's up?
Hey.
The Battler's son returned to the guest house at about 3 a.m. Then the rest of you split up about 30 minutes later, right?
Yes, that's right, small annoying blue girl. Drowsiness was finally starting to catch up to us at that point. We decided to take a short rest and then start up again.
To smoke out the murderer of the first Twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed, took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive.
Yeah, I've been dumping all my points in that one stat. I haven't seen the need to put it much in anything else.
Though she was an uninvited guest. What?
Erica finding ways to use con save for everything. That's how she survived falling out of the boat in the middle of the typhoon. That's also why her deductions aren't that good. Turns out rolling con for your fucking I don't even know what roll you'd use for investigating a mystery.
Probably like
con for perception or whatever.
Con for perception.
Yeah. There's not that many options there that you can.
Turns out if you take the right feats, you can just dump into con and do nothing else.
Sounds like a con to me. Get it? Because it's short for Constitution stat, like the D&D, but also I made it sound like it's a different kind of con. Praise me. Though she was an uninvited guest, everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way she played the detective. Also, it is funny because Lambda is like the kind of DM that would allow something like that. It seems Erica is also steadily building her foundation.
It's useless. Whether alibis exist or not, She can't deny our existence. Kinzo escaped through the window and is now one with the mists of Rokkenjima.
See, that's Natsuhi's problem, is that she's trying so wholeheartedly to defend that line that she'll die defending the line that Kinzo exists, even though it means putting herself in a position where she will probably become the most likely culprit. And in fact, she's the one that Erica fingers later, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, because
Did that happen later or already?
No, it'll happen later.
Okay.
Yeah, what we saw was like a flash forward, and we're still catching up to that point.
Okay.
Or rather, that was in media res, but now we're playing a long flashback, but you know what I mean.
Okay. She most certainly won't be able to capture or deny him.
When all said and done, perhaps you could say he has escaped to the underside of the chessboard.
In that case, maybe it would be appropriate to say he's been stowed away.
Come to think of it, about those corpses from the first Twilight, they've been stowed away too, right?
Yep. They've been put away in my darkness, which lies between this world and the next.
And that detective wannabe won't be able to find them?
Of course she won't. It'd definitely be impossible for a human. Want to check?
Just in case. And we also need to re-examine what Lady Berncastle's goals will be from now on.
Yeah, indeed. If you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. Sun Tzu, probably.
If you know the truth, you can win 100 battles without fighting.
Also Sun Tzu.
Probably. I don't read.
As a general rule, I try not to. I listen to audiobooks. I feel like it's a good way to absorb the information. My. The gap opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow all of them up. She invited Beato and Ronaway to the gap between worlds where she had hidden the corpses. That place was nowhere in this world, and existed at no time of this world. In other words, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. This place, questions such as where is this and what time is it, have no meaning. Every single place led to here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed from here. In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. No, perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where the pieces that have left the game go. I see you are ahead in materiel. Then, through the pitch-black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and 5 corpses came into view. The 5 pitiful corpses with their necks sliced open had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut and their hands joined. Apparently, even the gap had respect for the dead.
Oh my. There are 5 sacrifices for the first Twilight in this game? Not 6. Oh, it's you, teacher. I was worried about where you'd gone. The game has already reached the first Twilight, and as you see, the first victims have appeared. So, it's finally time. I'm getting all excited. I see. The you that is here looks to be in high spirits. I'm pleased. I've got high spirits and a captivating body. Add in my charming disposition, and you've got my only strong points.
Lambda, that doesn't sound like her at all. You need to roleplay better. For some reason, Virgilia praised Beato for being in high spirits. Though Beato was taken aback at such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden, she pounded her chest and answered. Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might have even been absent when Battler solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Apparently, she'd been absent for so many critical points that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game.
Right now, 5 corpses have appeared. As you can see, their necks have been slit.
None of them seem to be responding to Virgilia's, the pointed part of Virgilia's inquiry, which is like, shouldn't there be 6?
Mm-hmm.
There's like, look at the 5 corpses. And she's like, shouldn't there be 6 though? George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji. All 5 of them had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths and made it feel as though they'd no longer need their mouths to breathe.
It's weird. I just put it together that all the kids died except for Battler.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
It is. I don't think that's all. Like, we've had things where the kids have died early. Like, Jessica died pretty early in part 2. But that's generally not the case. And Maria died pretty early in number 3. But it's not generally the case. They generally live a little bit longer.
And never all in one go on the first Twilight.
Yeah.
Which is very strange. It also would be weird if it was Natsuhi that did it, given that Jessica dies.
Oh yeah, I don't think Natsuhi did it. I don't, like, if we can even trust a little bit of what's happening in the Natsuhi scenes, which, you know, I haven't decided whether or not we can trust what she's saying is what she reports is happening in them. If we can even trust a little bit of it, though, then it really seems like she's being blackmailed to take the fall for it.
Yeah.
But she seems to despite her frustrations, she generally seems to love her husband, Kinzo. Her husband, Kraus, and her daughter, Jessica, right? Just like Ava was legitimately broken up over George's death.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a lie that Natsuhi would be afraid and saddened at Kraus and Jessica's deaths.
Yep. I see. So, anyone looking at George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, or Genji's corpses could confirm at a glance that they're dead. Red. Well, there's no point in me holding out against you. That's right. At a glance, anyone could confirm that these corpses are dead. So it's absolutely impossible that they're just playing dead.
Why did Leah use the red?
Who knows? However, she is always thinking of what is best for Milady. She probably has some idea in mind that will benefit her.
Yeah. Remember when we were intimidating and shit? Remember back like a couple of game boards ago when like people ran in fear at us, and now we're just kind of like the fucking comic relief? God, how the mighty have fallen, huh?
But they'd hid the corpses here specifically so that no one would be able to use the red. However, Ronove was right. Virgilia had always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to the Gab's face as she saw that the corpses she'd gone to such lengths to hide had now been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged.
And what's the fucking point?
Why did you have Gab hide the corpses?
Who?
Why did you have the Gap hide the corpses? As to that, since the epitaph has already been solved, this game of mine is different from usual. I now have serving and protecting Natsuhi as my goal.
Interesting.
How would concealing their corpses protect Natsuhi?
Yeah, we more or less figured out what our opponent's moves will be. This is probably a trap meant to corner Natsuhi. Most likely they'll sort through alibis for the first Twilight and find them for everyone except her.
Last night, Natsuhi-sama was first to leave the family conference and then rested alone in her room. Unfortunately, she has no alibi whatsoever until the next morning.
We've already made Kinzo's existence impossible to deny. However, there's a single move remaining to our enemy that might cancel that out. I see. So they'll corner Natsuhi and make her confess that Kinzo doesn't exist. Indeed. The enemy is probably after something like that. By watching the movements of the pieces involved with the family conference, we quickly realized that Natsuhi was isolated. Notice that trap of theirs and countered with this move.
The corpses disappear. Everyone has alibis and no one exists who could move them. Not only does this support the claim that the witch exists, it also throws doubt on whether there were actually corpses in the first place, just barely allowing Natsuhi to escape without being a suspect.
In other words, it's possible for Natsuhi-sama to claim that the sacrifices at the first Twilight were only playing dead.
You mean, even though many people confirmed their deaths without fail in the cousin room? Mere confirmation of facts doesn't even approach the red truth. No matter how much everyone claims to have truly witnessed their deaths, the red truth doesn't exist in the human world. Because the corpses don't exist, Natsuhi can discount their words as a mistake, some sort of trick, or she can say that they were all lying. And it's possible for her to do this over and over to buy time for herself.
This is such a strange scenario in the game board, right? Because it feels like a lot of the arguments and stuff we've been having fights over are things we already know a priori are false.
Yep.
Which is so strange, right? Like that feels weird. In the human world, which lacks the red truth, perpetual check is a valid move.
An endless argument with both sides denying the other's claims. Not pretty.
True. However, beauty is something to be sought only after victory. When those without victory seek it, it is not but poison.
Well, they do say might makes right.
And even if I don't think it's beautiful, those Voyager witches will probably like it and say it isn't boring.
Voyager witches.
Lambda and Bernie.
Right. Why are they named after a space probe?
Those who cross the Sea of Fragments.
Got it.
I see. I've managed to grasp the flow of this game. I imagine it will get quite nasty.
We're fully aware of that, and we already know that Natsuhi's probably about to be lured into yet another trap.
A trap? Indeed. Someone Lady Lambda Delta created, who calls himself a man from 19 years ago, has already threatened Natsuhi. She was ordered to go into a closet in a certain guest room in a few minutes at 1 p.m. and hide there. Kraus was taken hostage, so Natsuhi can't resist. I see. How relentless. Can you protect her? Of course.
Why is Beata being so cocky? She couldn't protect her in the last with Kinzo's closed room there, right? That was Battler that came in and saved them. Why is she acting so cocky?
Huh? After all, Natsuhi isn't the culprit. No matter how much she's treated as the culprit, both the truth and phantoms are on our side. There's no way we'll lose.
And I don't think she's lying when she says Natsuhi isn't the culprit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I keep thinking, like, who can we find around the periphery that is... I'm still thinking Kumasawa, but... We'll mull on that later. Natsuhi threw her cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed throughout her entire body, and also ruining some very expensive china.
What do you mean by that? Are you saying you suspect me?
You told me you left before anyone else. You returned to your room and didn't leave that room until morning. However, you cannot prove that. It doesn't count as an alibi.
Prove? How could I possibly do that?
Doesn't matter how. Objectively speaking, it'll all be fine as long as you prove it was impossible for you to commit the crime. Everyone else is cooperating. I want you to stop being so hostile and give me your alibi, along with proof.
That's right. Almost the whole night is a blank space in time for Natsuhine-san. She might have left the conference saying she wanted to rest before us, then gone to the guest house and attacked George and the others.
Please don't be such a fool. Why would I kill George-kun and on top of that my own daughter, Jessica?
Calm down. We're all equally suspicious here. It's sad, but we all have to prove our innocence.
Yeah. We've been thinking frantically about how to prove our alibis for last night so that we can clear up the suspicion against us.
Ah, no, you can't like being suspected, Natsuhi-san. If it frustrates you, then shouldn't your first priority be searching for some way to prove your own innocence?
The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion. That's... Yeah, and the way that they're kind of maneuvering this to be like, hey, we're all equally like under suspicion here. What are you being? It's clearly they're not. They're in a much stronger position because they could back up each other's alibis.
Mm-hmm.
And a group of 5 is stronger than a group of 1. But the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Erica was still in the middle of confirming all of the facts, but except for Natsuhi, who was uncooperative when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Natsuhi claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erica, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. I mean, I guess all you can really say in her situation is like, yeah, that's what I did. I don't have any proof. Sorry.
Yep.
This parlor was no longer a place of comfort for Natsuhi, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive.
That's ridiculous. Why must I be suspected when I've lost a daughter? You're maliciously trying to make me look like the culprit just because I went to bed early last night. I cannot stand this humiliation any further.
I'm trying to think about, so Battler, like, if it was Natsuhi, because now I'm thinking, like, if it was Natsuhi, we know where she was at midnight. She was in the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Battler went back to the guest house at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was her, she would have had to hightail it over there, murder everyone before 3 o'clock and arrange it. And she would have run into Goda and Nanjo, who were having their nightcap party, you know?
Would she have had to before 3?
The two, according to them, the two of them had been there for a couple hours, drinking and talking. And also, it's really weird. Like, those two should be under way more suspicion than they are.
No, I meant, would she have had to do it by that time? Or could it have been after?
It feels unlikely. I guess she could have.
Maybe Battler's a really heavy sleeper.
Yeah, maybe he was, like, he did come in and complain that he was feeling really drowsy, so maybe he was, like, given something to knock him out or something. That could be it. And then she came in after the fact and murdered everyone else in there, but either way, it feels very weird, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so what are you going to do about it then? Show us some kind of alibi that proves your innocence. As if you could. Give me George back, you murderer.
Stop it, Ava.
And here's the thing. I think Ava knows that Natsuhi isn't the murderer here.
Natsuhi-san, you're probably a bit tired too.
And I think we can reasonably confirm that because she's shown a willingness in previous game boards to throw Natsuhi under the bus, even when she knows Natsuhi couldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like, what was it, back in game 1? I think. Because it has happened before, where she'll just be like, no, we can, with the receipt trick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where she used that to accuse Natsuhi rather than say Kinzo isn't alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ava really seems to have like a personal vendetta against accusing Natsuhi.
Maybe.
I don't think it's a maybe. I think we've seen it twice now. I think there's some very particular animosity there.
I had just read it as she doesn't want to say out loud, "The jig is up. I know your secret." And instead would rather pressure Natsuhi.
I see. Okay, fair enough.
Because Natsuhi can easily get out of being accused of murdering Kinzo at any time. She has a great alibi. Kinzo's been dead for a long time.
Yep.
And this is a great way to pressure her to admit it.
Okay.
It's really hard for Natsuhi to escape suspicion as long as she tries to keep up the ruse about Kinzo. But if she wants to fold on that to the advantage of Ava and the others, then she can escape some suspicion.
All right, fair enough. I would like to, however, point out a very important counter-argument.
Yeah.
Hideyoshi's buttons are also little Pac-Mans.
Oh my god.
So
Wow.
I feel like that's very important
It
to point
is.
out.
Same goes for us, of course. Why don't we take it easy for now?
Seriously, I'm a little too high-strung. Natsuhi. Wait, this isn't Meta Battle. Natsuhi, where are you going?
Searching for alibis or the culprit would be truly laughable at this point. When the typhoon passes and the police come, everything will be exposed to the light of day. There's no reason whatsoever for us to play at being detectives. Am I wrong, Erica-san?
Generally speaking, you're right. However, I do have the authority to do this.
Who gave her that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to down it.
I'm leaving. I have no intention of going along with your pointless questioning before the police come. If you suspect me, feel free to do so. I'm counting on the police to clear away that suspicion.
It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again, I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone couldn't connect to the police. Natsuhi said the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow. They would use the radio on that boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
All right, what did Nanja just hand her?
The murder weapon.
Perhaps it would be better if I stayed here.
Why not let her? This might make for some very good proof. Natsuhine-san gets killed in her own room. That'll be excellent proof of her innocence.
Put it on, Aniki. It's probably best if we all get a bit of rest. Our bodies won't last until tomorrow.
If we're going to take a break, we mustn't let our guards down. Got it? We might not make it through the night, much less tomorrow.
Natsuhi, if you're returning to your room, make sure you lock it tight. Close the windows and shutters too, and stay safe. I don't want to suspect anyone. More than that, I don't want there to be any more victims.
Thank you, Battler-kun. Then I'll return to my room. Goda, you're in charge now. I know this is a horrible situation, but see to it that our guests have everything they need.
Oh, yeah, madam. I shall do so.
Funny putting of all the remaining servants, Goda in charge, the only one who's not in the loop about what the fuck is going on.
Yep. Although we don't know what he discussed with Nanjo the night before.
Mm-hmm.
With everyone watching her, Natsuhi left the parlor. From their faces, she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern. The first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. Natsuhi couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon it would be at the promised time, 1 p.m. She was to hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest room. It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist. It's not a trap to select her as the next victim. It's a trap to frame her for killing the next victims. Right? Like that's obvious, right?
I think so.
I thought that was the obvious reading, but apparently the game is still eliding it. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against a culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So Natsuhi could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd have been forced to do this for her husband's safety. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsuhi had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed the cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlor. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I cannot disobey now. Oh, go ahead.
I'm now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband Kraus has been captured, I must protect it even if I have to crawl through the mud.
What if Natsuhi is the culprit? Kraus wanted to give it all up, right?
Wanted to give what all up?
Kraus wanted to come clean to the rest of the family and tell them about Kinzo. That Kinzo's been dead for a while because he thought that they were backed into a corner. Could it be Natsuhi, maybe didn't literally kill Kraus, but has him tied up and gagged somewhere, got him out of the way, framed him, did actually go and do the murders, came up with this weird story about the caller from 19 years ago to make herself feel better. Because the only person who can even verify that the call was received was Genji and Kraus, one of whom is dead and one of whom is missing.
Mm-hmm.
We have only her word to go on that alibi is even true.
So we've also had the call on the one previous occasion, but that was also Genji. So I guess on this theory, we believe that Genji, Kraus, and her are in on this call being fake?
No, because Genji and Kraus's words no longer matter. I think she could just be making that up as a reasonable, to give herself like a reason to be blameless in what she is doing.
I'm not sure that fits with how things work though, right? Because they were there. So they would have to have, if it were made up, been in on it, even if now they're gone.
Not necessarily, because they're not around anymore. The only one who can report what happened, because as soon as that scene was over, they died, or are absent in Kraus's case. There's no one else to Wait, no, because we do know that they were in the building. Shit. For red text, we know they were in the building at midnight. Never mind. That was given in red text that they were in the building. Not that they were alive, but they were in the building. In the upper floor. But I don't know. I'm gonna mull on that for a little bit. I do think maybe there's something to the idea that Natsuhi is indeed actually the culprit here.
My thought also, though, being, is that how these fantasy scenes that aren't as they are work?
Yeah.
Because when we've seen them, it hasn't been. It's been because those who are there are maintaining the illusion.
Yeah, and maintaining that illusion, they can create the appearance of characters who aren't there. There's no rule that says the characters who aren't there have to be magical people.
That's what I wasn't getting. So your theory was that Genji and Kraus never were in that location in the first place, nor Genji the previous time with the previous call.
Correct.
And okay, that was what I wasn't getting. Okay.
Yeah. So, I apologize. Yeah. So that's the subtlety to it then, right? Because we've been using this new technique to argue against the existence of magical characters, which makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, there's to quote a famous dog movie, there's no rule that says you can't use it to also impersonate someone else who is there. If they're alive and they catch onto it, they can easily deny it. But if they're not alive, or they're not there, or they don't know to contradict it, you can fake that they're there. Yeah, that's just my thought.
Of course, I am prepared to do so. I'm Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Even if I am not permitted to bear the one-winged eagle on my clothes, Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. I've managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything has gone well. Before my eyes was the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. Servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? I had dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Popping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I'd like to get this era hide-and-seek over without anyone noticing. In that phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago, he said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released whether I won or lost, but as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did Shannon or Kumasawa forget to lock it after cleaning? Or did that man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then, all that about hide and seek might have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact that I was coming here secret, and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, it might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. That might actually turn out for the better. Perhaps this is a good chance to confront the culprit directly.
Natsuhi had some experience with using a naginata, though only casually.
Only casual naginata use.
Really? A naginata is a fucking it's a sword, right?
I thought it was like a big polearm thingy, big old blade on the
yeah,
edge of a stick.
You're right. It's the polearm with the little fucky tiny blade on the end of it, right?
I thought it was a real big blade on the end of the stick.
So let me just double check this.
Yeah, we gotta know what the naginata is.
Yeah, so it's a pole weapon and one of several varieties traditionally made Japanese blades. Naginata were originally used by samurai class of feudal Japan. And the pictures are showing me a long pole with a smaller blade on the top of it.
Show me. I have to see the polearm.
The blade is maybe at most a third of the entire length of the weapon. It is mostly pole.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
Egg on my face. I can't believe I didn't recognize a polearm.
Wow. I thought you were noted polearm aficionado.
I know, right?
Unlike Ava, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off any single ruffian indefinitely. As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning. Why does she have experience using a fucking polearm in 1980?
I mean, maybe she does martial arts.
Noted polearm enthusiast. If she doesn't use a polearm in the fucking fighting game, we riot.
Oh yeah, we need to get Natsuhi her Naginata.
The Nazi not.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, it'll come to me. Give me a moment. She steadied herself and slowly opened the door. The Nagi Natsuhi.
Yeah,
There it
we got
is.
there.
Woo!
Got him.
She just couldn't stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone. The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid. Interesting. Again, I don't know how much stock to put into this, but this is the same background that was used for Ava and Hideyoshi's room when we saw them in, I believe, EP1. And she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear were the unsettling sounds of the wind and the rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon it only made an uneasy feeling rise up inside her, even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats. This closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down wouldn't be a problem. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she could have even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside here there. However, none of these things she imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was a cold guest room, and a lifeless closet that silently urged her to enter.
So, did she have a Naginata with her when she entered the room?
I don't think so. I don't think that was the implication.
Why was it relevant that she knows how to use one?
I think it was the way the text was written. It was like, okay, she knows how to defend herself when she's given this, but going in empty-handed, she has no chance.
Okay.
I think that is what it was implying. It was still a weird detail to just throw out there.
It's a great detail to throw out there.
Maybe.
I was just hoping
Wait, you know what's similar to a Naginata?
What?
A tall candle stand.
Is it though?
It's a
candle
polearm?
stand isn't
It's
bladed.
a polearm.
Okay.
I will. All polearms are essentially the same. Got a pointy bit on one end and a lot of pole at the other.
You wound me.
Yeah, I wound you from 10 feet away with my polearm.
And he told me to hide in here for an hour. He's mocking me. But I'm gonna do it anyway.
What's she gonna do for an hour?
Think about Naginatas.
Oh, don't worry about me. I've got my Game Boy. You know, the Game Boy Advance SP, the one that has the backlighting. Good battery life, too.
No backlighting. The little curly neck lamp that plugs into the slot.
Oh my god, she has like a Game Boy Pocket and one of the curly lamps.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Classic.
I can't wait to finally play Super Mario Land. Natsuhi shrugged, turned around, and then locked and chained the guest room door. This is... okay. So this is indeed a similar guest room. A similar guest room to how we saw Ava and Hideyoshi get murdered.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of thoughts about that. So we should pay attention to the construction of this room. It might give us some insight to how... let's see.
This way, no one will be able to get into this room. In other words, no one will be able to find me for the next hour. I win. What a stupid game of hide and seek.
This surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game of that against that mystery man. However, it was such an easy victory it made her feel uneasy. Normally this would be against the rules of hide-and-seek. Even if she had won, then wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now everyone that thought that she had returned to her room. They found a room with a chain set that would make it impossible closed room to them. Erica had dashed throughout the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set on this room, there would probably be an uproar that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsuhi would be found hiding in the closet right away.
Here's what's going to happen. something is going to be contrived that they'll need to get Natsuhi for. They'll go to find her room closed and locked, and Kraus dead inside it, and Natsuhi nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, this is where Kraus's body is going to appear now.
But not here, right?
Well, I mean, here isn't time
Yeah.
here. Like, now is when Kraus's body will appear.
Yep.
It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband.
Gee, I forgot. Natsuhi has like an N-way gambit pileup here, because she simultaneously got to hide the fact that Kinzo's dead, but also got to hide the totally unrelated fact that this shit's happening.
That she's being blackmailed? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Makes you wonder how much of it is real. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
I think all.
I'll just get content ID'd. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock might be a bad idea. That's right. This room was unlocked when I came here. Oh.
That's right. This room was unlocked when I came here. If it was to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. So in the end, I have no choice but to do what he says. I hate doing it, but I cannot disobey. I undid those two precious locks, went into the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood, and managed to close the door from the inside. Pitch black. It reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere and then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't even be able to check my watch to see if an hour has passed. I probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let in enough light for my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. Just crouching down here for an hour will probably hurt a lot.
Huh. Okay.
So much about everyone's bad joints this time around.
Yeah, huh. Okay. Sorry, have we gotten anything specifically about Natsuhi's joints before or anything? Or
No.
why she would have...
Because she got old?
Just because she's old? She's like, what, late 30s now? I
Yeah.
guess. Huh. I don't know, it's random thought for another reason why she might have trouble kneeling or crouching down like that.
How do you mean?
What if she was pregnant?
Huh.
I don't know what that gets us. It just popped into my head, and I felt like, if long shots, right? Bold swings. That's what we're at about here.
I can't believe I'll be hiding in the darkness for a full hour, with nothing to hear except the wind and rain.
Ironically, Natsuhi had made Jessica do the exact same thing in the past. She had done it when Jessica was a little girl to scold her for her persistent bad habits and teach her a lesson. Interesting. So if this is actually a threat being made against her, this is by someone who clearly knows about Natsuhi's history with Jessica's. It does make it more likely that it's Kumasawa,
Yeah.
I feel. If we are to believe that this is happening as described. We only have one reported witness, so we do have to kind of caution ourselves here, but... She thought that making Jessica stay put in the darkness would sprout a desire to reflect on her mistakes, and that this way she would understand what she had done wrong.
It almost feels like I'm being made to do the same thing. If that's the true purpose of this hide and seek. How naive of me. This must be my naivety, the hope that if their goal is to make me repent, nothing will happen here during this hour. Uncertainty and fear of that man's shadow are not what I need right now. Can't believe that man got here all the way over from Guilty Gear.
I don't know enough about the Guilty Gear lore to riff on that, but yeah, there is a dude in Guilty Gear lore called That Man.
First name that, last name man.
First name that, last name man.
Will someone suddenly come to this room, open this closet, and do something horrible to me now that I've come here and total secrecy as promised? That's what I should be worrying about. The culprit, or one of his accomplices, is very close by. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to observe me so thoroughly. I don't want to think it, but it's highly likely that the culprit bought off one of the servants. Culprit hid an eerie card with autumn written on it in my room. My personal room is always locked. That trick wouldn't have been possible without a key. Instead of believing that they obtained the key when the servants weren't looking, it's much more realistic to assume that one of the servants lent the culprit a hand.
She's going down the same line of reasoning.
But how did they know that autumn is my favorite season?
Right?
How unsettling. The thought that this mystery man might be peeking into my heart sent goosebumps running across my whole body. It's true that I like autumn, but I've never said it out loud. I don't think anyone's ever heard me say it. If I asked even my husband what my favorite season is, he would probably be stumped for an answer. No, just once I told it to a single person.
You did ya? You did. Who was it? Who was it, Natsuhi? Lock in your guess.
Kumasawa?
Kumasawa. Yeah.
That's right. Shannon.
Whoa! Okay.
I had figured that also makes sense. That would have been my second call. I feel like we've been on suspect Kumasawa train though this time.
Yeah, we were, but it also considering what we suspect Shannon capable of in some of the other game boards, like what we suspect she did on the first game board, it would not be without the realm of possibility, would it?
Yeah.
That would be a little weird if she killed. It might be that she wasn't involved in the killings, but is involved in this blackmail thing here. Interesting.
On an autumn day long ago, I happened to be in a good mood, and I mentioned that autumn was my favorite of the 4 seasons. So the culprit, or one of their accomplices, has to be Shannon.
Interesting.
The fact that I like autumn can only be known by Shannon. In that case, this is clear proof that Shannon is involved.
Interesting. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna...
That card with autumn on it is proof.
Or someone who likes to eavesdrop. We shouldn't discount Kumasawa, since she admittedly does like to eavesdrop and knows a lot of things that people think she shouldn't know. Like about the gold, for example.
Outrageous. Even though she's served the family for 10 years.
She served for 10 years. She served since she was 6?
Yeah,
I mean, we knew that, but still, it's weird to think of it out loud, right?
Yep. I trembled and shook with rage. Didn't Kinzo once say that anger is the fastest sedative to cure fear and uncertainty?
That, or absinthe.
Or sedatives.
Really, there were just a whole bunch of options we could have gone with.
It's easy to tell the most fearful humans from within a crowd. They're always the first to get angry. I remember him telling me that. So I realized that this anger was a sign that I was actually frightened, and I tried my best to remain calm. However, this is a vital clue for turning things around. Shannon may not be reliable as a servant, but if she's an accomplice used by that mystery man, this might actually be convenient. A weak-willed girl, if I threaten her, she'll probably spill the name of the mastermind in an instant. I'll secretly tell the police about this.
Interesting that she seems to believe that if threatened, she will spill the beans on anything very quickly, which lends credence to the idea that her and Cannon did cave and tell the rest of the adults what was going on.
If Natsuhi's assessment is correct.
If Natsuhi's assessment is correct, true. But
it might become a big clue towards arresting the culprit. That card was probably meant to shock me and get me to do what he says. But he's actually dug his own grave. I never told anyone except Shannon that I like autumn.
How is...
Nah?
Nah. Alright, sure, fine, cool.
This is unshakable proof that she's working with the culprit.
But you can't use red in the human world, so... Huh. And how is Natsuhi herself able to use first person?
It's
Okay,
unclear.
that'll be something to unpack later.
Though I once thought this time in the closet would crush me with uncertainty and uneasiness, it's actually given me the start of a counterattack.
Natsuhi's in the closet. Oh no.
If I wasn't given this time in the darkness, I probably wouldn't have noticed this. I'm almost grateful to the culprit for making up this foolish game. My mood brightened. I still can't guarantee that my husband is safe, but I'll definitely get him back and force the culprit to face judgment. I clenched my fist tightly and further strengthened my resolve to avoid losing this fight at any cost. At that time, I heard the sudden sound of someone trying to force the locked door open.
Wait, the door's locked?
I thought she unlocked it.
I thought she unlocked it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because she purposely said, like, yeah, if someone came in and noticed it was locked, then that would just give it away that there's something in there to hide, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see where we go from here.
Okay.
Because we're in the middle of the sentence, and my heart leapt.
That looks like Hideyoshi's sprite, so.
Okay. Oh, it was unlocked. Great call.
I'm just going with what the game shows me, alright? The voice was Hideyoshi's. I heard that quiet voice as though he was talking to himself, coming from what was probably the hallway. Apparently he had thought it was locked and tried to unlock it, but had ended up locking the unlocked door instead. Once again, there was the sound of the lock turning, and now the door opened with a faint sound.
Why is Hideyoshi-san in this room? Footsteps that sounded like his came in, and there was the sound of him closing and locking the door behind him. Then came what seemed to be the sound of him setting the chain.
Okay.
Don't tell me Hideyoshi-san is the mastermind, or else an accomplice? Is he planning to do something to me in this room?
Or is this just Hideyoshi Neva's guest room?
Oh? It would take some time to unlock the door from this side, much less remove the chain. If Hideyoshi-san doesn't intend to let me escape from here, he won't give me enough time to undo the chain. In that case, if he opens the closet door and sees me crouching here pathetically, just what kind of fearsome words will he say?
Yeah, this is Hideyoshi Neva's room. Why else would he have a key for it? This is just their room.
Did he have a key for it?
He just unlocked it, and he locked it and then relocked it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't doubt that Natsuhi heard the sound of the lock turning. You know what I mean?
I don't want to be found. I don't want to be found. I beg you, pass right on by the closet door. Please keep going into the center of the room. My head was so filled with a throbbing sound that it felt like it was about to explode, and I almost missed hearing his noisy footsteps. So when I heard a clunking sound coming from the center of the room, I finally realized that he'd passed by the closet and was deeply relieved. Just in case. In this weather, it's pretty much night out there anyway. As he whispered, he did something that made a clunking sound. He was probably closing the shutters on the windows. Just in case. In case I try to escape out the window? No, that can't be it. That's right. When I left the parlor, everyone was talking about possibly taking a break. After all, several murders have occurred. And the weather's bad. There'd be nothing abnormal if someone chose to rest in the guest room here instead of returning to the guest house. In that case, locking up and closing the shutters to guarantee safety is the proper course of action to take. When he finished closing the shutters, there was a thunk as though he'd flopped over on the bed. It was surprising how much of the situation could be grasped just by the sound. What's going on here? Did the man from 19 years ago plan all this out to put me in the same room as Hideyoshi-san? No, that probably isn't true. He probably planned on me hiding here, but Hideyoshi-san coming to take a rest here probably must have been outside the scope of his plan.
Would it have been? Because if it is indeed related to Kumasawa, then she could have been like,
Oh, here are the rooms that are free in the mansion for you to take. Ooh.
Maybe.
yeah.
Thinking about it that way, having him in the room might be odd. but it also might guarantee my own safety. Unlike his wife, Hideyoshi-san is the kind of person I can talk to. If Ava-san comes, things will probably get complicated. Maybe I should slip out of the closet now while he's still alone, reveal everything to just him, and ask for help. But if I do that, my husband might be killed. Until my husband is released, I shouldn't do anything rash. Should I go out and talk or hide in here? Moaning from my headache and biting my lower lip, I resisted the urge to crawl out of here. Even if I talk with Hideyoshi-san, I don't know where my husband is being held. I'm sure the trader who's observing me is nearby. Just talking to him won't solve everything. I suspect that Shannon is the traitor, but that's no proof that Goda and the others aren't. It's all useless. I guess leaving here and confessing is too dangerous after all. Eventually, I heard a strange, sobbing voice. Whose voice was it? I strained my ears, trying to hear that strange voice, and was shocked to discover that it was Hideyoshi weeping.
Of course he's weeping. His son died and he hasn't had time to mourn yet.
Hideyoshi, who had lost his only son, was finally able to shed tears and cry now that he was all alone like this. Thinking that he needed to support Ava in her distress, he acted as though he alone was standing firm. However, he has as good a right to cry as anyone. And now that he's found a place where no one can see his tears, he finally let himself do it. And I've lost my daughter. I haven't seen her corpse with my own eyes, so it still doesn't really feel like she's dead, but if the one who carried her off was the culprit, and he had some repulsive motive for doing it, just the thinking about it makes it feel as though my chest will tear itself apart. The reason I'm hiding in here now is that I'm thinking more about my still living husband than my dead daughter. But if I were given the chance, I'd be wailing at the top of my lungs too. However, I still cannot let myself do that. It isn't because the man from 19 years ago told me to hide. It's because I'm the final head of the Ushiromiya family. It's been completely overshadowed by the recent uproar, but last night Battle-kun found the hidden gold and even gained the head's ring from that mysterious envelope. At the very, very end, when it's all over, I probably won't be able to prevent his ascension as the head. And when everything regarding the distribution of the inheritance is revealed, the Ushiromiya family honor and glory passed down from father will plummet to the earth. So, I'm the final head. Battle-kun will probably inherit the remaining wealth of the Ushiromiya family. However, its history and honor will all end with my generation. Therefore, I am the final head. I must not cry, not yet. Until I get my husband back and avenge my daughter, I will not be allowed to shed tears. In the closet, I silently hung my head as I listened to Hideyoshi-san's sobs. Who are you? Oh, who are you? Sorry. I was so surprised at him leaping up that I forgot about his accent. My heart leapt. I heard a sound that must have been Hideyoshi-san, who had probably been lying prostrate on the bed, bounding to his feet. Did he notice me? How did you get in here? What's that? Wait a sec. What? He was clearly in a struggle with someone.
Interesting.
Who on earth could it be? No, it doesn't matter who it is. It's probably the culprit, and they're probably trying to take Hideyoshi-san's life. Shouldn't I jump out of here and help him? If I can't help him, shouldn't I call for help? No, but if I do something like that, I'll be questioned about why I was hiding here. However, if Hideyoshi-san gets killed like this... No, now isn't the time to be saying that. At this rate, he'll certainly be killed. I'll jump out of here and help him right now. But if I do that, even if I can save Hideyoshi-san, I might be abandoning my husband's life. Hideyoshi-san's life and my husband's life. How sinful it would be to try to weigh those against each other. At that time, there was a loud sound as the door opened and the chain was pulled tight. Someone was trying to open the door despite the chain being set.
Dear, it's me. Could you open up? Dear? What's happening? Dear? Open up! Open up! Open up, dear! Someone!
She opened and closed the door over and over again with all her might, but of course she couldn't snap the chain. Ava-san called for help in a loud voice and raced through the hallway. By this time, the room had settled back into silence, and that earlier sense of Hideyoshi being in a noisy struggle had disappeared completely. What's going on here? So right now, I'm in the same room as the murderer who killed Hideyoshi-san? In that case, the culprit should try to escape from the room as soon as possible, so why are they hiding in here? I haven't heard anything. Nothing that might have been the culprit who attacked Hideyoshi-san rushing away. No matter how much I strain my ears, I can't sense anyone in the room. In fact, it's so silent that it makes what happened just a second ago feel like an illusion.
Natsuhi, you done murdered someone. Natsuhi, you done murdered someone.
You think she did the killing?
I think that's the only way to interpret what's happening here.
To what end?
I don't know to what end yet, but I think that's the only way to really interpret what's happening in this scene.
In other words, does this mean that the culprit is hiding his breath, standing just outside this closet, waiting for me to stumble out? I don't even know what I should be scared of anymore. If only I could just melt away into the darkness of this closet. I mustn't remain in this room any longer. I get the feeling I have more to worry about than just my personal safety. But what should I do? I don't even know if it's a good idea to leave this closet. Eventually, the clamber of many Russian footsteps approached. I'll hold my breath again and melt away into the darkness of the closet.
Ava dashed back, bringing everyone with her. Goto was gripping some wire cutters to cut the chain with. Trying to open the door again and confirming the chain was set, she yelled through the crack in the door.
Dear, we're going to open this up. Cut it right now.
Oh yeah, of course. Goto stuck the large wire cutter, which looked like it could slice off a whole finger, through the crack at the door, and easily severed the chain.
Dear!
As soon as it was severed, Ava pushed Goto aside and dashed in. The others tried to follow her, but they bumped into Ava, who had fallen to her knees, moaning. So even though they couldn't tell much of what was going on inside the room, they could tell by Ava's moans that they were too late. What the hell?
Dear, Dr. Nanjo! Look at my husband quickly.
Bro, go right now.
Got to be kidding me. It's only been about 10 minutes since Uncle Hideyoshi went out saying he wanted to rest.
Is there anyone in the bathroom?
No. There's no one here. What could have happened? Oh!
Dear.
I'm afraid to say that there's nothing I can do.
Nanjo stood up, hanging his head sadly. It was only natural, because everyone, even if they weren't a doctor, would think it that at a glance. Hideyoshi was lying face down on the bed, and stuck deep into his back was something like a blade with an intricate demonic design on it. When Ava pulled it out with all of her might, they could tell that it wasn't a blade, but some kind of stake. And its sharp tip had penetrated nearly 15 centimeters in. It probably dug deep into the lungs. Been stuck any harder, the tip might have even pierced all the way through to the surface of his chest.
Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Why did you go on alone? Stupid! Ah!
It's a very odd phrasing, but all right. That's the kind of phrasing that might also make it seem like he committed suicide, but strange thought. Culprit probably waited for us to get careless and split up. That bastard. So he still hasn't had enough blood.
So he really is hiding somewhere in this mansion and coming after us?
But there's something strange here. The doors and windows to this room are completely sealed. That's right. The shutters are all shut and the door chain was set until a second ago.
Huh? But that's crazy. In that case, how did the culprit attack Hideyoshi-san in this room?
Oh, maybe they threw the stake through a crack in the door.
Hideyoshi-san's bed is in a total blind spot from this crack. You couldn't even kill him with a gun. This really is strange. a closed room murder.
Closed room murder?
Is it? Did they check the closet last time this happened? Please tell me they checked the closet last time this happened.
I don't know, but if they did, last time everyone was accounted for, right?
Yeah.
So no one could have been in it, unless there was an additional person X.
Yep. Which there wasn't. Because of red. But it's a bit too early to be sure about that. Maybe he removed the ceiling of the bathroom and escaped to the space above it. Or maybe you can close the shutters from the outside.
The shutters. They bulge an edge from the outside. I just went and checked. That's the first thing I do when I see a dead body.
Erica. It's no wonder everything felt so quiet and relaxed. At some point, Erica had split from the group. Just now, she had finally arrived and poked her face in from the hallway. She heard that a crime had occurred in this room. She had watched everyone rush towards the room but circled around to the outer wall herself. She had gone all by herself to check that the shutter was down on the window, that you couldn't do anything with it from the outside, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Is the inside of the room just like usual?
There's no need to say it like that.
My deepest condolences. So, what's the situation inside the room?
The chain was set on the door, so we cut it and entered.
And all the windows and shutters are down. They're locked tight from the inside.
What are they bickering about in there?
Ava was arguing with Nanjo about something. Apparently she wanted to carry the corpse to the parlor. Nanjo tried to calm her, saying that they should leave the crime scene as untouched as possible till the police came.
What happened to the other corpses? The culprit carried them off somewhere, right? Maybe that the culprit isn't satisfied with just killing, but intends to do something with the corpses. So no way. No way we're leaving my husband all alone here.
Ava does have a point. After all, the victims before now have all been carried away after we were shown their terrible wounds. Erica-chan, I'd probably like to preserve the crime scene, but could you just let this one slide?
Do whatever you want. All I'm interested in is the fact that a closed room has appeared. That's much more serious than Kinzo-san's study. I have no interest in corpses, so do as you please.
What the fuck?
Battler's expression was clearly unhappy, but she ignored him completely.
Feel free to carry the corpse out at any time. Or am I in the way?
Erica backed away from the door to open a path. She showed no trace of any sadness for the dead. Her eyes simply blazed with thoughts of this closed room murder that had appeared. In any event, the great detective had given her permission. Ava and some others wrapped Hideyoshi up in the sheets, and Goda and Rudolph carried him out. The sheets were quickly stained red. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kumasawa stripped the blanket off the bed to further cover the corpse. Hey, out of the way.
Yes, I am out of the way.
Let's go to the parlor. Oh, yeah! Dear, dear.
Listen up, everyone. From now on, we'll always move as a group. You must not let yourself be isolated.
Is this going to be the route where they kill off all of the characters I voice?
It's seeming like that, right? When the culprit attacked Genji, he probably got a master key. It's good that even locking up will no longer make you safe.
But the chain was set. How did they do it?
It's impossible. The shutters and the chain were firmly set. Even with a master key, it'd be impossible to force your way into that room.
Must have been Beatrice Sama's doing.
There's no way Beatrice-sama did this. The epitaph has been solved, so there shouldn't be any more reason to hold the ceremony.
Of course we can't understand it. This would be impossible for anyone except a witch.
It all seems so dumb when you see it from the other side, doesn't it?
Impossible for anyone except a witch, you say? Good. Has a nice ring to it.
Erica-chan, are you listening? We've decided to stick together from now on. First, we're carrying Hideyoshi's corpse to the parlor. Can you hold off playing detective until we get there?
When she heard the words playing detective, Erica grimaced visibly. Then everyone stumbled out and she took a single step into the now empty guest room, looked around, and burned that scene into her eyes. Erica claimed to have a photographic memory. If that was true, those few seconds were more than enough for her. Later on, she could sip black tea in the parlor while perusing the photograph of this crime scene in her memory, playing the part of an armchair detective. Then suddenly, her eyes stopped on the closet off to the side. A closet for hanging overcoats. It was large enough to fit a coat on a hanger. A person should be able to hide in it. Slowly, Erica stretched her hand out towards the closet. Erica's shoulder was grabbed thoroughly from behind. Let's go, Miss Detective. Did you ever learn how to stick together on school field trips?
Well, whenever I go traveling, someone always dies. Like, I'm batting 1,000 on this. Actually, over. One time it was 2 people. Yeah, it's just incredible.
When she gets bored, she just has to start doing some killings herself just so she can solve them. Probably Rudolph.
Hey, what do you think you're doing, brats? Come quickly. Rudolph told them to hurry.
Oh,
Good,
I called one.
Good read.
I
Clicking
never
her tongue
get it
and
right.
glaring at the closet, Erica followed Battler to the back of the parlor for the time being. Back to the parlor for the time being. The sound of their footsteps finally faded. And that time of
That time of terror, when I feared that even the dripping of the cold sweat covering my cheeks might be noticed, had finally ended.
Spawn camped, bitch.
well, I mean...
With my hand that still couldn't stop trembling, I slowly opened the closet door and dashed out into the hallway. It's okay, no one's found me. Still, it's a good thing they didn't lock the door. If they had, I wouldn't be able to lock it behind me after I left, and they'd find that suspicious. Anyway, I should leave this place. Then I'll return to my room and pretend that I was sleeping the whole time. Yes, if I don't get back soon, a new murder has occurred. They'll probably try to tell me about it.
What would be even cooler is if they've already gone out up to check and see if Natsuhi was there. And then she's about to lie about being there, and they're going to catch her in that.
Yeah. And they'll probably do it shortly after they carry Hideyoshi-san's corpse back to the parlor. I can get her out a phone call by saying I was asleep and didn't notice, but if they come knocking directly, that'll be bad. I have to get back quickly before they try to force their way in. And find Kraus. I don't know whether I should run all out noisily, hide my footsteps and walk in secret, or walk around normally as though nothing has happened. At the very least, it'll be bad if I bump into them on their way back to the parlor. Anyway, I'll head to my room at a quick pace without being noticed by anyone.
Now, there's an important detail here that came up earlier in the game. It is possible to do a circuit of the entire mansion without retracing your steps. As we learned. So there is a route for her to get back to her room without going the same way they are.
Yep. I pass through the hallway to the lobby. If I go up the big staircase in the lobby, my room is just a little bit...
Yo, Natsuhi-san.
Yeah.
Just as he was about to go up the large staircase, Natsuhi heard Erica call out to her and was so surprised that she visibly jumped.
I was just about to go and tell you the news.
Thank you very much. Did something happen?
Just now, Natsuhi-san. You were climbing the stairs, right? Your room is upstairs, isn't it?
Erica coldly pointed out this strange fact. Natsuhi cursed her bad luck.
I couldn't sleep, so I was going to return to the parlor, but I wasn't sure whether I'd locked my room or not, so I was about to head back. I'm a worrier, so this sort of thing happens a lot. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that sort of thing does happen a lot. It's a common quirk among people who aren't confident in their memory.
Normally, since Erica was clearly making fun of her, Natsuhi might have looked annoyed. However, right now, Natsuhi was extremely relieved to hear Erica admit that this sort of thing happened a lot.
Why are you by yourself, Erica-san?
I thought I'd investigate that guest room.
Guest room?
Yep. The situation's gotten pretty serious, hasn't it? And investigating the scene of the crime is my right.
Erica's probing gaze peered deep into Natsuhi's eyes. She could tell. Erica had already suspected Natsuhi. Judging by the subtle nuance in her words, she must be planning to take... Go ahead.
Judging by the subtle nuance in her words, she must be planning to make me slip up and reveal that I know about the crime with Hideyoshi, when I supposedly haven't been told about it yet.
Natsuhi played dumb and asked what had happened again.
Is something wrong?
No, it's nothing. Just a repeat of the first crime, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Again, you were in your room. And again, you can't prove your alibi, can you?
I don't know what you mean. To turn it around, how can you prove that I wasn't in my room?
That. Let's take this one step at a time. Please worry about your lock later. I have something vitally important to discuss with everyone.
I'll come back after I check my lock. Please get started without me.
Hideyoshi-san has been killed. We'll be talking about that.
What?
She had planned on using the need to check her lock as an excuse to escape to her own room, after which she would claim to have a sudden headache and stay in bed the rest of the time. However, now that she had been informed of Hideyoshi's murder, it would be clearly suspicious to postpone that and escape to her room. She was already under suspicion just because she'd been heading up the stairs to the second floor. She couldn't afford to do anything else suspicious. Natsuhi gave up and headed for the parlor as Erika urged her to do. When she opened the door to the parlor, Ava's sobs poured out, and everyone glanced at Natsuhi with grave faces. Those gazes almost made it look as though they suspected Natsuhi. It was now painfully apparent to Natsuhi. This must have been what that man was after. This was a trap to create baffling closed-room mystery and to try to frame her for it. However, she couldn't have resisted. She couldn't sacrifice her husband's life.
And while it's true that I hid in the closet, that's all I did. I definitely haven't committed murder. I might be extremely suspicious, but I'm not the culprit. And most importantly, I'm not under suspicion yet. I'll tell the police everything. I'll have to endure till then. I'm sure one of the servants is a traitor. Even in a situation like this, if I mention my husband being held hostage, the culprit will hear and might use it as an excuse to kill him.
Natsuhi-san has just come back. Now that we're all here, I have something very important to discuss with you all.
Something very important.
Yeah, it's very important. I'd like to lay out everything in front of you all, starting with the first crime.
Then please do that with just the others. I think we should leave that sort of thing to the police. I'm not interested.
Since I have it all laid out, this is a very important thing to discuss. Neither you nor anyone else has the right to refuse.
What?
Look, detective's badge. See?
Erika just goes around with a fake detective's badge.
Detective's privilege, bitch.
It's just like her supermarket employee ID with detective written on it in Sharpie.
Yeah, it's so good. Erika used her detective's authority to proclaim the start of an assembly.
Emergency meeting, fuckers. Natsuhi's being pretty sus right now. I think we should eject Purple.
None of the pieces
Did you catch her venting?
She was venting, wasn't she?
Yep.
Oh my god. Praying that she wouldn't become the topic of conversation, Natsuhi reluctantly sat on the sofa as she'd been urged to.
Oh, sorry. Could you close that door for me?
Yes.
Shannon and Cannon closed the door, then got on the floor. Since it had been destroyed a short while ago to lock any and all doors, windows, and You ever just fuck up a sentence so badly that you're just like, all right, nope, we're just letting it go. Since it had been decided a short while ago to lock all doors and windows carefully, Cannon locked it. That lock, which existed to protect the safety of this room, felt like a lock on a prison cell to Natsuhi, one that could hold her in place and prevent any escape. Natsuhi still hadn't noticed. Though Erika had gone into the corridor to check the crime scene in Hideyoshi's room, her goal had changed. In other words, from Erika's point of view, the sound of that lock was truly...
Checkmate, bitches.
Erika said that suddenly. Berncastle said that suddenly.
Oh, fast! Wow, so you figured out the culprit already? We've barely gotten to any of the crimes, right? You could have just let me kill a few more and gathered a few clues yourself.
Okay, Lambda. Gather all the pieces, alright? Now we're getting to the most interesting part. Let's both enjoy it to the fullest, okay?
Well, let's see. Why don't you show me what you've got? To think she'd lay down the challenge without waiting for games set at 2400. What a hasty person, that Lady Berncastle.
It's quite an early challenge, to be sure. To think that she's already managed to obtain a winning hand at this stage.
Normally you can win just by claiming that a witch exists, but with Nazi and Kinza, we got a lot we need to protect this time. Sounds like this fight will be a pain.
That's no problem at all. I won't let them do as they please with my golden island any longer. Bring it on, Lady Berncastle. Furudo Erika.
In the Golden Land, the endless rain continued to fall. Battler was nowhere to be seen. It would very soon reach the time that Battler had joined in on the 5th game, and control of the pieces would be passed on to Battler. In other words, he would officially be added to the game now in this final stage, where Berncastle had pinpointed the culprit. So he had left the arbor a short while ago. Now the only ones in sight were Virgilia, who continued to knit silently, and Beata, who just sat there blankly amidst all the smell of her black tea, not even putting the cup to her lips. Virgilia stopped knitting for a moment, and looked out across the vast golden rose garden that extended as far as the eye could see.
I believe it's safe to say that, at least in the game over who the culprit is, Battler has gained such strength that he will never surrender again. By the 4th game, you had sent him all your messages. In other words, at this time, Battler-kun is capable of realizing the truth at any moment.
Yep. That's...
However, he is still soft in some ways. So, even if the games continue like this 100 times, he won't solve it for all eternity. He'll just wander forever like someone trying to find the blue bird.
And that is you, Beatrice. It's the same for you. Even if this game continues hundreds of more times, you will never reach the answer you seek for all eternity. Berncastle will abuse this game without a doubt. Lambda Delta will also turn this game about with the utmost arrogance. At a glance, that may be humiliating and appear to you and Battler as though the game has been stolen from you. However, that is something the two of you need right now. To end Battler's naive softness, to end your hesitation.
And that's why you called the two of them here, to end the eternal torture between you. Those two will bring you either victory or defeat. But no matter how it goes, that result has already been filled with compassion. You should understand that as well by now.
Virgilia faced Beato, whom she had come to adore as a daughter, with cold eyes that she must not have shown often. It was like the gaze of a mother who, instead of scolding, silently urges their child to recognize their mistake.
Beatrice, how long do you intend to stay there, neither alive nor dead? Not rising up to heaven, nor falling into hell. There on the peak of Mount Purgatory. I am Virgilia. I have guided him through Purgatory and brought him to you at its peak. And you are Beatrice. You must choose whether to take his hand and rise up to heaven, or grab him and fall into hell.
Did you know that the Discord called Purgatory, which lies in the gap between heaven and hell and is very selective about who it lets in,
Yeah,
is
I was going to say, they have a Discord?
sometimes more torturous than even hell itself? Yeah, I hear it gets pretty rowdy. On the gates of hell, it is written that you must abandon all hope. A human without hope can accept their suffering and give up. However, the residents of Purgatory have hope. A hope of possibly reaching heaven, a hope that cannot be abandoned. And it tortures them. Even in the depths of hell, no greater torture device exists than a single pin known as hope.
Fly from the cliffs of Purgatory. Take with you the regrets caused by your fleeting, fragile, foolish hopes and open up Pandora's box. Are you scared? Scared of opening the box?
Beato was silent, but with a single tear, she nodded slightly.
Is the cat in the box alive or dead? I feel like I've mixed my box metaphors.
I don't know. I think that seems pretty legit. Pandora's box, has a cat in it that's alive or dead. When opened, will unleash all chaos upon the world. I think it fits.
The time has now come to check. If the cat is dead, quickly hold a funeral for it and have it rise to heaven. If the cat is alive, quickly feed it and give it all of your affection. Whether it is alive or dead, your cat box eternally desecrates the cat. The key to the box you were afraid to open has been brought to you by those two. Those two.
Interesting. Beatrice, it is time for you to die now. I hope that your heart is stopped by the hand of the person you desire.
Huh.
Strange.
Strange indeed.
But yeah, that did confirm, like, at the end of at the end of round 4, you have everything you need in order to solve it.
Sure do.
Supposedly. I mean, we're still obviously trying our best, but, can only do so much. Oh, wow, we're just... Wow.
What the fuck?
All right. Shit. Well, I guess...
What the fuck?
Next time, join us at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I guess.
Huh.
We'll see you then.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.